Quick little disclaimer. All the names of the manga are going to be in the description because for my own sanity, I don't want to see any comments saying what's the name of this manga and then have a timestamp. They're all going to be in the description. Okay? Everyone got it? Great. Other than that, you know what to do. The YouTube thing, subscribe, like, ring a bell, all that good stuff. Anyway, let's get to the video. Ragna Crimson is the story about a boy named, guess what, Ragna. And Ragna, to put it shortly, is trash. So Ragna is what's known as a dragon hunter. Well, he's technically a dragon hunter. He's more so in theory than in actual application. And the only reason our MC Ragna has not fucked around and found himself on a t-shirt is because of his best friend named Leo. Now, who is Leo? Well, Leo's a 12-year-old girl who is also a dragon hunting prodigy. She is what some in the profession would define as her. Now, one night while Ragna was training to not be the world's deadliest weight, he gets a dream of his dear old companion Leo, learning how not to train your dragon. After a few days of having these dreams, they seem to be taking quite the toll on old Ragna boy. So much so that even Leo notices and asks Ragna, what's wrong? Ragna then explains how he feels like what he is, dead weight. Then Leo does a bit of foreshadowing for Ragna, telling him that he will one day become stronger, that she doesn't know what will trigger it, but one day he will get stronger. Then we get a flashback of how they met. How they met is quite simple, you see. Ragna was getting treated like he was at the Bayou Brawl, when then Leo stumbles onto him getting treated like the JoJo meme. She then proceeds to manhandle those doing that to Ragna, and then offers to hunt dragons with Ragna. Back to present day, where they receive news that the city of Donapiro, a neighboring city, was just attacked and destroyed by dragons. And so, because of this news, the other dragon hunters and our dynamic Uno are planning to go to Donapiro and kill the dragons. Ragna then realizes that, he's seen this in his dreams. But it's too late. The dragons are here and they're not selling free real estate. And there seems to be one among them that's not only a wee bit familiar, but also a wee bit too strong. So then the dragons start tearing through the city like how I tear through a box of crumble cookies. And our main dragonic friend here is what's known as a superior dragon, aka Will. I call them that because I hope yours is written down because you will not be making it out of here alive. Ragna realizes that this is the dragon he's been seeing in his dreams, so he decides to sneak attack Will. But unfortunately for Ragna, his MC privileges are still set to off. So he then gets yeeted into the river, which makes Leo furious at Will that he hurt her Ragna, which makes Leo charge at Will to turn him into a hashtag. Now back to Ragna, who's drowning, sees the person who has been giving him these dreams. And turns out it's future Ragna, a Ragna that had not only lost Leo, but every companion he has ever made. However, future Ragna did manage to kill all the dragons, but at what cost considering everything he wants to protect is in the same place as my love life. Then past Ragna tells himself, if you don't need that power, then give it to him. Future Ragna gladly gives it without a second thought. Now back to Leo, who's putting up a decent fight against Will, but then Will decides to launch his deadliest attack, monologuing. As Will is explaining the reason they're even attacking in the first place is because the dragon god likes to partake in human sweets. However, the cake shop in Donapiro was its favorite, but some incomprehensible jackass decided to rob that store, and the dragon god's response to discovering this was to lay waste to the entire fucking nation, which is a completely understandable reaction. But Will unfortunately has a chronic case of the first antagonist syndrome, which makes him become way too cocky when then our good old MC starts demonstrating why his name's on the cover. Ragna proceeds to turn every last dragon into the past tense and then approaches the big bad Will and with a single word, shatter, completely and utterly Z-ranks his first boss encounter. Then he finds Leo and starts crying, endlessly in her arms. And on that day, 7 Riaz cities were attacked, and 6 were totally annihilated. And on that very same day, the Dragon Reaper was born. Wow, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint is a story not about Kim Doksha. Now, who is Kim Doksha? Kim Doksha is your typical everyday man whose hobby is reading web novels on his train ride home. His favorite being 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse, aka TWSA. On his way home, his co-worker Yu Sang-ah notices him on the subway. She then proceeds to sit down and strike up conversation with Doksha. But this train ride is different, not because of Sang-ah's presence, but because TWSA is ending today. A novel he's been reading for 10 consistent years is finally concluding with its epilogue. But here's the thing about TWSA. It has over 3,000 chapters, but it only averages 1 viewer, which is Doksha. After finishing up the epilogue, something strange happens. Doksha receives a message from the creator of TWSA thanking him for reading the series, as it helped motivate them to finish it along with winning a contest. And as a token of gratitude, they emailed Doksha all of the chapters of TWSA. And as Doksha is finding this weird that they would do that, all of a sudden TWSA disappears from his favorite web novels list. Then suddenly, the subway lights turn off and a mysterious creature pops up from out of nowhere. Doksha then sees the creature and thinks there's no way that it's possible. That's a dokebe, a creature from TWSA. And at first, the other passengers on the train think that it's some sort of AR technology dream or movie set. The dokebe makes it very clear very quickly that this is reality. After witnessing that heinous act, Doksha is now fully convinced that yes, this is indeed all happening. Then suddenly a video game like screen pops up in front of everyone with a prompt saying that they need to kill 1 or more living organisms and that they only have 30 minutes, and failure to do so will result in death. Of course, upon hearing this news, everyone is in a panic except Doksha, who then has to calm down Sang-ah, who is terrified. Then a man named Lee Hyung-sung tries to calm everyone down as he is a military soldier, notifying them all that they're in a state of national emergency. But this is not the thing that shocks Doksha. The thing that does shock Doksha is that Hyung-sung is a character from TWSA. Then on everyone's phones, the Korean Prime Minister is doing an emergency broadcast trying to reassure everyone. The dokebe then makes an example out of him, doubling down that this is not a game. And because of that little stunt, the dokebe decides to reduce the time limit from 30 minutes to 10. But people are still hesitant. So the dokebe shows everyone that the only thing that awaits them if they don't cooperate is death. When then a student named Kim Namun on Doksha's train car strikes an elderly lady. Namun then states that they must decide to kill someone or they all die. So who could blame them for killing in this situation? When then he and several others start jumping the old lady to death. Sang-ah is about to try and stop them when Doksha stops her because he knows that he nor she is the main character of this world. He sits her down, telling her to wait, as Doksha didn't jump in earlier, not because he was scared of them, nor was it because he agreed with them. He was simply waiting for the right time to act. Doksha then takes out Namun. He looks and finds a boy in the train car with a clear glass box. He then borrows the glass box while giving the boy something. Doksha, now in the center of the train car, informs them that even if they kill the old lady, they will not survive. Because what will they do after that? Because according to the dokebe, all of them at least must kill 1 living organism. Namun gets up laughing, stating that they'll just kill losers like him next. Doksha then reveals that it's not a person they need to kill, but a being. He then crushes an insect in one of his hands as he throws the glass box in the air. As it had insects in it, this sends the entire train into a frenzy as they try to find the insects. When then it's revealed that actually, Namun is a character from TWSA that is cruel and careless. And after seeing that stunt, Namun then offers to team up with Doksha, who rejects his offer, stating he prefers to be alone. Namun states that's too bad as he proceeds towards the already injured old lady to finish her off. When then Doksha stops him, Namun throws a punch at Doksha. He evades, but a problem arises. Namun has manifested his skill, Grimdark Awakening. But luckily, Doksha's skill also manifested Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, allowing him to know what the characters from TWSA are thinking. Doksha is steadily dodging Namun's vicious attacks, which is driving Namun crazy. Then Doksha informs Namun he only has 2 minutes left. Namun then glares at the elderly lady on the ground. Doksha, not wanting this psychopath to progress forward, does everything in his power to stop him from killing her. Then Namun pulls out a pocket knife and goes for the heart of Doksha. who barely manages to evade, but Nawoon still manages to injure him. Doja then picks up the old lady and starts running away from Nawoon, but Doja does not have the strength nor stamina to run away anymore. But as Nawoon starts talking like he's won, Doja breaks some unfortunate news to Nawoon that insect eggs count as living beings. He proceeds to crush dozens of insect eggs in his hand, gaining a ton of coins. Nawoon then goes in for the final strike, but it's too late. Doja's already invested all his coins into a stamina stat, which makes Doja's skin thicker than Nawoon's pocket knife, to where it can't even pierce Doja's shirt, which confuses Nawoon. Doja then proceeds to inform Nawoon how grasshoppers lay more than 100 eggs during breeding season. Doja then looks at Nawoon, telling him that the one who will die will not be himself, but Nawoon. Now there's only a minute left. Nawoon starts panicking as he wildly starts slashing his knife at Doja, trying to kill him, but the knife is doing absolutely nothing to Doja. As Doja stares at Nawoon's desperate attempts to survive, as time slowly ticks away, time then expires, along with Nawoon's life. Doja managed to survive the first scenario along with 4 others, thanks to his wits and 10 years worth of knowledge of TWSA. Doja, who is not the main nor a supporting or key character in this story, managed to survive the first scenario. But with just those 2 things alone, will he be able to survive and overcome the hellish scenarios that his favorite novel, 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse, is going to put him through? Reboot World is set at some point in the distant future where everything sucks major ass. And that's where we run into Akira, a boy from the slums. And Akira has not exactly had the greatest life, as he's poor on top of being an orphan, whose only real option to get the hell out the slums is to become a hunter. Now what's a hunter? A hunter is someone who explores ancient ruins for relics which can then be sold for a ludicrous amount of money. And as a new hunter, Akira's not really doing too great at his new profession, as he runs into some friendly old hunter bandits. You see, the thing about Akira is that his default luck stat is naturally godforsakingly awful, which can be inferred by the whole poor, orphan thing. But for the first time in his life, the mandate of heaven picks him. By that I mean a very sexy AI mommy picks him to be her host. Well, if he can follow her instructions to stay alive, that is. By the way, this is Alpha, and Alpha is a support type AI that's designed so that whoever she's supporting doesn't die. And thanks to the mandate of heaven being on Akira's side today, Alpha will be working with Akira because Akira happens to be a hunter and Alpha happens to be looking to hire a hunter to capture a very specific old rune. And like I said, the mandate of heaven picked Akira for Alpha. And the first hurdle these 2 are going to have to overcome is not the absolutely angry puppers below them, it's Akira's trust issues, because Akira got hit with the classic free Microsoft point scam, so he's developed some trust issues, as most Xbox 360 kids have. Alpha then suggests a trial period so that he can see for himself that he can trust her. Akira accepts the proposal for Alpha to then immediately inform Akira that rule number 1 is to absolutely follow her instructions, which in order to get past these wonderful weapon dogs whose factory default setting is genocide, he's going to have to do just that. So with that, there's no time like the present, it's time to try out Alpha support. And good news for Akira, Alpha is not only wonderful beat off material, but she's very good at her job, even as a larger and somehow even angrier weapon dog shows up. But as long as Akira follows Alpha's precise instructions, he won't get Thanos snapped from existence. And so far, so good. Even as Clifford the big fucking death dog is on his ass, Akira, with the guidance of Alpha, manages to successfully kill Clifford the big fucking death dog. And with all of Akira's limbs still attached, the first encounter working with Alpha can be deemed a success. After encountering Clifford the big fucking death dog, Akira is still in a wasteland, as he's not going back to the slums before finding a relic. That's easier said than done, as Alpha then tells Akira to immediately take cover and hide for 30 seconds. She then provides some more specific instructions, and those instructions have Akira going in a loop-de-loop pool. Akira then starts wondering why he has to follow such roundabout instructions, as he doesn't hear or see anything and ignores the number 1 rule of Alpha Club, which is to absolutely follow Alpha's instructions. Akira then fucks around and guess what? Finds out that he should probably listen to the AI mommy. Luckily, Alpha manages to save Akira's life by hacking the automaton, because if Alpha didn't do that, we would talk about Akira as we do the Titanic, which is literally you just had one job. And with that experience out the way, Alpha's hoping that Akira can trust her just a bit more, as she would be in big trouble if Akira punted the bucket. But luckily for Alpha, Akira may not be that lucky in life. He's at least a living incarnation of I ain't hear no bell bitch, which is extremely helpful as he will not quit nor give up. Alpha then guides Akira to a relic to help heal his wounds. The relic proceeds to make Akira hear that bell. Akira then wakes up to find Alpha watching him. He then immediately points his gun at her, then apologizing, cause in the slums, if you're not on your P's and Q's, someone will be taking said P's and Q's. But the medicine did its job and Akira is no longer close to meeting his forefathers. They then find an old relic, and with that, their adventure for today concludes. Akira then discovers that Alpha is not visible to anyone but him. Akira takes the relic to sell them for some funds. He then gets very upset about the price they're willing to buy it for. This makes Akira get the wise idea of testing the attendant's gangsta, which it is very quickly demonstrated that this is a test Akira will 100% fail. Alpha intervenes and suggests that maybe it's not the best idea to pull a gun out. The attendant then explains to Akira that they don't know if the relic is either TikTok financial advice or valuable. But after evaluation of the relic, they'll pay him in accordance to that relic's value upon his next sale. Well, that's if he can make it back alive, as most hunters don't. Akira then looks the attendant directly in the eye and swears that he'll be back. And as Akira is leaving, the attendant smiles and wishes Akira luck, as he's going to need all he can get, even with Alpha's support. And that Kanku Mahasojo Rikusa, or New Authentic Magical Girl Rikusa. And this here is Kugi Kuzutaka, a 10-year-old boy living his normal everyday life as he waits for his train, when the 4 people in front of him just yeet themselves in front of a train. Now, for a normal person, this would scar them for life. However, like only a true psychopath could, Kugi enjoys coincidences like this because, like I said, psychopath. But it also means he gets to go see Rikusa, who's a magician, and these two investigate incidents where magic's most likely involved. Kugi goes to Rikusa so that they can solve it, and the reason Kugi wants to solve these incidents is not for some righteous reason. Fuck no, you simple-minded child. It's because he's looking for some more useful magicians aside from Rikusa to make them his pawns. Also, Rikusa's power is to instantly jump through time after shedding blood. However, it's only her time she's able to control. Hey, I ain't gonna hold you. There's a lot of information this manga throws at you immediately. Very hard to summarize. Anyway, now, how did these two meet? Well, Rikusa was always absent at school, and as the class representative, Yugi went to check on her not to be a good classmate. You see, Yugi is a bit of an asshole that sees himself better than mostly everyone else. So he has the ego of your average Redditor. So he was only going to see her for it would visibly raise his value. But this changes as he then instantly sees Rikusa and realizes that she's not normal. By the way, turns out there's an entire prefecture where the magicians just be bullying apparently, and that's where she's from. Upon seeing her, Kugi also then thinks he has to obtain Rikusa at all costs and make her his pawn. But how can he do that, you ask? Well, coincidentally, Rikusa happens to have a father that's in an extremely long line for some milk, and she's trying to find him. Kugi realizes that this is his end, and boy howdy, he's not gonna let it slip by him easily. He then spills a bunch of complete and utter fucking nonsense that I don't even feel like summarizing, but nonetheless, it somehow fucking worked, I guess. And they partner up back to present day where, guess what? It wasn't suicide. Those were people committed. It was magic. Hey, did you know that the government does not recognize the existence of magic just cause they can? Another reason they're looking for mages is hoping to find leads to Rikusa's father. We then find out the cause of an accident was due to a magic formula that sucked people onto the track. Also, according to Rikusa, it was probably a normal person who recently learned magic, which disappoints Kugi, as that means that the culprit is useless for him. But the two of them start theory crafting about where the killer was during the time of the accident. We then discover who Rikusa's father is, and it's Mizukari Shingo, who can use resurrection and regeneration magic, which makes him a legend because he's the only magician to be able to commit suicide. Because magicians can't normally commit suicide with magic because they can't remain focused as possible when performing the magic formula. Also, Rikusa has magic formulas ingrained into her blood, so she does not need to use incantations like every other wizard. Y'all still with me? Hope so, because this manga's not throwing the kitchen sink at us lettuce, but the whole ass kitchen. While in deep thought, it then hits Rikusa who might be the culprit. She then asks Kugi about the train conductor. Kugi then calls his dad, because of course his dad is the leader of the prefecture police force that they are in. They then find out which hospital room the conductor is in. Then using Rikusa's magic, they pop into his room. The conductor then acts surprised as they suddenly pop up in his room. Rikusa calls him out on his BS and asks the conductor who taught him that magic. The conductor, Takamine Kotaro, then drops the act cause turns out it was him. Takamine then reveals that he had one simple wish as a train conductor, to hit someone with a train. And that's right, you heard that correctly, but you know, is a goal. Also, Rikusa is a witch hunter who passes judgment on those who use magic on the outside since no one else will. Kotaro then springs his trap, which he's had a week worth of magic formulas to prepare, and as Kotaro is chanting his incantations, Rikusa then charges at Kotaro to stop him. But uh-oh, what's this? She forgot she was handcuffed to Kugi. Now you may be wondering, why is she cuffed up to Kugi? And the reason for that is for Kugi's safety when they were using her time magic earlier. Because as long as the other party attaches themselves to Rikusa's power, which is her blood, they'll be able to travel through time together. Anyway, because of this little miscalculation, it gets Rikusa turned into sashimi, and like all sociopaths, you know, this does not faze Kugi in the slightest. As he then proceeds to berate and insult Kotaro, well, at least this time he had a reason to not be shocked because he knows Rikusa's not dead. You see, Rikusa can't die normally. Anytime Rikusa is on the brink of death or loses too much blood, her dad was nice enough to install a magic sigil on her that would have her future self appear to deal with whatever issues kids Rikusa is dealing with. Anyway, future Rikusa shows up and she then takes Kugi's thumb and drinks the blood, then eats it to get her tongue back to normal size. Don't ask me how it works, I'm pretty sure it has something to do with blood. That's the best I got for you. Future Rikusa then proceeds to slack Kotaro. You see, this is Rikusa from 17 years in the future, and Kugi does not know what happened 17 years in the future, but this Rikusa is just like a tad bit more aggressive than the 10-year-old Rikusa. The future Rikusa then insults and berates Kotaro on top of that, and after doing that, she then proceeds to kill him in what I imagine is an extremely painful way to die. And now that that's over, Kugi is holding his thumb that's leaking like a faucet. Rikusa then rips off her own thumb and puts it where Kugi's used to be. It then attaches. Now, you may ask, how does that work? And my response is, Rikusa tries to banter with Kugi, but that DLC is still locked for Kugi. Rikusa then proceeds to melt as she can only maintain this form for 1 minute. They then part ways for now, at least. While walking back from the hospital, Kugi asks Rikusa how she figured out who the killer was. She then explains that it's because of the timetable. And as she's about to explain further, she noticed Kugi's face and decided not to, as it would make him feel down. They then go to the train station where the accident occurred. Rikusa then demonstrates how she figured it out then. As the train pulls up, Kugi then notices that the announcements are overlapping, which makes him feel like an idiot. Also, it turns out half of his body is already made out of Rikusa, which I mean, is something. But once that mystery finishes, it seems like another one is about to begin. And this notorious talker runs the world's greatest clan, or its Japanese name, which I can't be bothered to say because it's too goddamn long, is a story about Noel, who, yes, trust me, is a boy. You see, Noel wants to grow up to be a seeker. Now, what's a seeker? A seeker is deadass someone who just searches for things for a living, as you know the name implies. And Noel's grandpa, who used to be a seeker, but not just your average run-of-the-mill seeker, but the strongest seeker, known as Overdeath, which causes Noel to want to be the strongest seeker like his gramps. But to become a seeker, Noel's going to need a job, and the job Noel gets is talker. Now, what's a talker? Well, a talker is someone who grants others buffs through the words they speak. But the downside is that talker's personal fighting strength is ass. So the job gets ridiculed as weak, which devastates Noel because you know the whole wanna be the strongest thing. But his Gramps cheers him up, letting him know that there's a strong seeker inside of him and to trust him. And with that, Noel's training arc begins with a tinge of backstory. So, shocker, Noel's parents died in an accident when they were young, and so people believe Noel's lineage is cursed by beasts to die young because Gramps killed too many beasts. This of course led to him getting bullied by other children because children are fucking cruel. But this did lead to Overdeath beating the brakes off some children. 4 years of training later, and Noel is now close to 15 and will officially be recognized by the country as a seeker, and everything was fine and dandy until the Fire Nation attack, or Abyss level 12 attack. Now what's the Abyss in these levels? The Abyss contain beasts, and the higher the level of the Abyss, the more you're cooked. And with an Abyss level of 12 appearing, it's pretty much time to pack it up and say GG's. Overdeath then takes Noel to a bunker for safety as he plans to fight the beast to buy some time till help arrives. But they both know that this is a suicide mission, as Overdeath then closes the door on Noel, locking him inside. After a while, the beast cries die down. Noel, excited that Gramps won, then rushes outside to see Gramps, half the man he used to be. Hey, you get it? And with his dying breaths, Gramps asks Noel, is he sure he wants to become a seeker like this senile old fool? Noel responds, yep, he'll become a seeker. Then with his dying breath, Gramps tells Noel that he always will love him. 2 years have passed and Noel is now in the capital of Warnant Empire, Latoria. However, even though Noel is older, the downside is that he somehow looks even more like his mother, so people often think he's a woman, but the reason he's here is to become the strongest. But to become someone who never loses no matter who the opponent is simply impossible. So the way Noel will become the strongest is to gather the strongest allies and become their leader. Since aiming to be the strongest individually is a mistake, since mankind's greatest strength comes from solidarity, and Noel's current solidarity comes from Lloyd, a swordsman, Walter, a warrior, and Tanya, a healer. And these four make up Blue Beyond. And the job for Blue Beyond today is to subjugate a lesser vampire. But do not be mistaken, as Noel's not the leader right now, since he's the youngest in the group, so he has the lowest standing right now. But it's time to go fight a lesser vampire. Even though Noel is not the leader, he still gives out commands and information to the group since he is a talker after all. And after dealing with a decent amount of the small fries, Walter then wants to deal with the main body instead of the subordinates. Noel informs Walter that killing all of the subordinates greatly increases their chance of success. Walter then mockingly says how he'll follow the old grey talker Noel's wishes, and as Noel's about to retort, it seems his Peter Tingles goes off as the main boss is here with its $1 million smile. And like all fucking annoying bosses, it silences the support first. So Noel's unable to do his talker thing, and without these buffs, fighting the lesser vampire is going to be a pain in the ass. But Noel ain't gonna let no bitch ass monster like this look down upon him, as he got that thing on him. After curing himself, he then uses deploy tactics, which increases the results and effect of all actions by 25%. Noel then proceeds to give his party the optimal commands while buffing them as well, but while their hands are full with the main body, turns out that some lesser vampires were hidden inside. Noel then tells the others to handle his lightweight, because as long as everything goes according to his calculations, he'll only need 18 seconds to deal with the fodder. He first uses Stun Howl, which surprisingly stuns the enemy. Who could have seen it coming? And with 2 bullets left in the Desi, he kills one, but there's still one left, and he only has 3 seconds left. He then fires his last bullet to distract the main body, and using his skill Assault Command, Lloyd and Walter kill the main body, causing the subordinates to stop moving. But even Noel's perfect calculations are still going to involve risk and close calls, along with the bonus of giving teammates heart attacks. But with that, this battle's over. Now it's the after party of a successful hunt, as they managed to earn 5 million fil, which brings some resentment from the veterans, but that's not the problem. The problem is that Walter's drunk and upset that Noel tried to get them an extra 500,000 because Noel's greediness will affect Blue Beyond's reputation. But like a dumbass, Walter decides to start arguing with someone whose whole entire job is to talk. So Noel proceeds to verbally dog walk Walter, which angers Walter to where he threatens to kill Noel. But Noel don't only got that bark, he got that bite, because he got that dog in him. When then Lloyd steps in and stops them, as it's about that time to call it a day. Also turns out Tanya and Lloyd are dating, but after receiving the reward money and like all dropshippers, after calculating the expenses, turns out they made 1 million instead of 5 million. But in order to make more money as seekers, they'll need to join a clan or make one. Noel asks Lloyd how much they have saved up. Lloyd informs Noel they have 12.8 million, and with that much, Noel then suggests that they make their own clan instead of being essentially subcontractors, as they would be able to receive requests directly from the country itself. The other members seem hesitant, as Lloyd reminds Noel that they're still short 7.2 million. Noel says he'll cover the rest of the fee with some of his inheritance from his grandpa. Lloyd starts asking more questions about making this clan, as he, Tanya, and Walter are still hesitant. Noel then states that the sooner they do this, the better, because as long as they're clanless, they'll always be considered beginners. Noel then explains some more benefits they'll get, such as since seekers are idol-like existences, and with them being young and attractive, this will make them more famous and rich. Tanya is still hesitant, but after hearing Noel out, Walter then changes his mind to be in favor of making the clan. But like an indecisive girlfriend, Lloyd's still hesitant about it. But Noel's not compromising on this, cause if they don't make this clan, he'll quit the party, since his dream is to surpass his grandpa over death, and he'll need a clan to do it. Upon hearing about Noel's dream, Lloyd then agrees to make the clan, and with that, the vote is now 3-1 in favor of making the clan. Or so Noel thought, until the next day Walter barges into Noel's room and informs him that, like Sam Bankman-Fried, Lloyd and Tanya have run off with the money, and like the FBI, Noel's going to make sure that Lloyd and Tanya will forever regret this decision. And
it's sudden, but I came to another world, but I hope to live safely, or its Japanese name.
異世界でも無難に行きたい召喚軍.
And just like that, our MC has been isekai'd and immediately finds himself in danger, encountering Yogi the bear, who tries to eat him, but then Rimuru devours Yogi, for Goku to then fire a fucking Kamehameha through a tree at Rimuru. So as you can see, wherever we are, fucking sucks. But our MC just needs to comprehend what's going on and he'll be fine. And with a little bit of stumbling and bumbling around, he finds civilization and gets imprisoned frame 1, with the bonus of being unable to communicate with the locals. So with no other option, he goes to sleep. He's then awoken by a female knight who smiles at our MC, then tags and bags him. She then takes him to a church where he's released from the bag, able to understand the language thanks to the sister there using a simple spell on him. Our MC then explains to them that he came from another world along with how he got to their city. Upon finishing his story, the sister grabs him, asking him how he's still alive after being in the Black Demon Lord's Killer Mountain, considering it's so fucked that even dragons be like, nah, we good. The sister then informs our MC about his incredibly low mana, which means no abilities for our MC, which he's thankful for as it means he can live in safety since he's completely useless in combat. The knight then mentions how lucky our MC is that he didn't run into the bandits on his way here, as they're very active in the mountains. When then our MC reveals that he actually did see them, as their faces literally were screaming bandits. The knight grabs our MC, asking where their hideout is. The sister then tells the knight to let him go, because if she keeps shaking him like a tambourine, he'll die. The sister then states that he probably doesn't remember the exact location of the base, but our MC informs the sister that he thinks he can manage. The knight then introduces herself as Ilias Ratzel, a knight of the Kingdom of Ties. It's now several hours later, and we're in front of the bandits' hideout where 2 bandits stand guard. When then one walks away to piss, this leads to one getting GG'd by a spear, as the other one gets the General Zod treatment. The Order of Knights then rushes into the cave, as Ilias suggests that for our MC's safety to stick close to her. The knights are inside fucking the club all the way up, including Ilias, who some would describe as unnecessarily strong, as with her sword still sheathed, she cuts a giant man in half as if he was water. She then commands the knights to search for any bandits that escaped. Our MC asks Ilias why she didn't unsheath her sword. Ilias says that she didn't want her sword stained with their dirty blood, but our MC remarks that it must have been his imagination, but he swore he saw her trying to draw it, but it got stuck in the scabbard. Ilias, now embarrassed, says that she didn't want to. Our MC then pleads with her to put down the sword. Now with 7 of the 20 bandits being captured, with the rest being murked, and while being carried back by Ilias, our MC wonders why he's been transmigrated here in the first place, and is just hoping to live safely and peacefully while here. It's now the next day, and our MC is enjoying a nice meal with
Karagiagesta Damatrukavkin,
or Grandpa Carl for short, who was the knight that decimated that bandit's skull yesterday. After finishing the meal, Gramps takes our MC to Ilias as she's wondering if our MC could help think of some ideas to catch the remaining bandits, as the plans they're using are failing and the bandits they've captured are keeping their lips sealed. After some suggestions from our MC that wouldn't work, our MC asks Ilias if he can interrogate them, and apparently she allows it. For reasons. And now our MC is face to face with one of the bandits, who immediately insults our MC, saying to just kill him already as he has nothing to say. Our MC says to the bandits that he most likely won't be able to avoid the death sentence. The bandit remarks to tell him something he doesn't know. Our MC then asks the bandit why not talk, as bandits' relationships are like business rivals, as they will cut each other off once they've been captured. Or can he at least tell him the reason he's keeping his mouth shut? The bandit responds, what changes if he answers? Our MC replies that at the very least he'll be satisfied, as he won't get tortured if he gets satisfied, as he's not telling him to sell out his comrades, but just asking the reason he won't tell them, as it will give him a chance to die peacefully. The bandit then explains that it doesn't matter if they die, as that person is always able to grant them eternal fear. So torture is nothing compared to that. So hurry up and kill him. With this new information, our MC is starting to get the picture. He then goes to see the sister to ask about, is there a magic to tamper with someone's soul? And after asking this question, the sister then embraces our MC and scolds Ilias, asking what she's done to him. Our MC then informs the sister that he asked Ilias to bring him here. The sister then informs her MC that yes, there is a magic like that, but it's forbidden, as all those brought back to life using that magic became demon lords. But there is a magic called Death Spirit Spell. This magic forcefully drags out a dead person's soul and humiliates them in the living world. Our MC states what he wanted to know isn't about the spell itself, but rather its horrors, to be exact. The sister then references how she fought it once in the past, and after exterminating one of the victims, it thanked her. And with that, that's all the information our MC needed. The sister then asks Ilias to watch our MC, as she's concerned how used to malice he is. Now back to our MC, who is with all the captured bandits. And as we're finally about to learn our fucking MC's name, the bandits tell him to shut up and hurry up and kill them. When our MC then falls to the ground from the remarks and asks them are they all that afraid of the Death Spirit spell, which shakes all the bandits. Our MC then offers the bandits a proposal that he will change their execution date until after they've caught the Death Spirit spell user, only if they confess of course, as they could then die humans at least. The bandits fall silent as our MC asks them, shall they start negotiations? Our MC then explains that even if they anger the Death Spirit spell user, they wouldn't die. They'll still get their meals and won't be tortured in the meantime, and after confirming the mastermind's death, they'll be able to die as humans. The bandits retort, does he expect them to believe him, as they'll execute them even if they confess? So why do they have to do such a dangerous thing? But our MC wonders about that, as they coincidentally found their hideout last time. And what would happen if they got really lucky and obtained the mastermind's whereabouts from another source and cornered them? What would the mastermind think? Of course it would be that someone snitched. Our MC then wonders which one of them the mastermind would think of first. Our MC then states that once again, this is his proposal. He then leaves the room, leaving all the bandits shook. And as he walks out, Gramps and Ilias look at him concerned. But our MC says, can they not look at him like that? Ilias then asks, will that tactic work? Our MC states, probably not. This confuses Ilias. Our MC then whispers to Gramp and Ilias something that flabbergasts both of them. The bandits are now all separated, remembering the horrors of the Death Spirit spell. The bandit then overhears Gramps talking to the other guards about how they'll only keep 3 of the 7 alive, as even if they all confess, their information is bound to pretty much be the same. Or at least that's what our MC told him. This throws the bandit into a bit of a tizzy, as he's immediately willing to confess and write down all the info he knows. 5 of 7 confession papers later, while handing it to our MC, Ilias clutches them, asking what kind of life did our MC have in his previous world, as she's grateful for his help, but taking advantage of others is against the chivalry code and is a method she's not fond of. MC responds he's just a normal guy who wants to live peacefully, but she doubts it. MC then explains how on his world there are good people and bad people. Depending on which people you're dealing with is which behavior comes out. Ilias then asks, does that mean he will become evil in front of evil? MC retorts, not quite. It's closer to he becomes someone who understands evil. As he then takes a sip of his drink, Ilias then looks at our MC, then her drink, as she remarks, just like a warped mirror. Our MC smirks, as Ilias then says that living peacefully sounds really hard. And that
Tough
was
Being a Friend is a manga based around the MC Ryuga, the Dragon God successor, and his 4 compatriots, Shiori, Rei, and Elmira. And after taking the demon god's fodder behind the shed, it seems like Ryuga's harem is fighting over who gets to heal him. When then in the background, we hear,
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
and the one who's saying that is Ryuga's friend, who's also a professional protagonist buddy, Ichiro. Now, what does professional protagonist buddy mean? Well, it means he's the comic relief character. He's the guy who keeps the story pacing balanced. And with this being Ryuga's story, he's more than glad to be the protagonist's friend. So, the way these two met was Ichiro was looking for the MC of MCs when he then stumbled onto Ryuga, just looking like an MC, which makes Ichiro's heart race as he thinks.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Ichiro goes to speak to Ryuga and compliments his name, saying how it sounds like an anime character. Ryuga then hits Ichiro with the MC line of, I don't really like it, cause I'll be chained, unable to avoid my destiny until the day I die. That reply makes Ichiro more excited. Ichiro then sticks his hand out saying, let's get along. Ryuga then calls game and hits Ichiro with the dagger of, don't concern yourself with me. Ichiro is now surer than ever that Ryuga is indeed the MCs of MCs he's been looking for. Even Ryuga's mysterious background and circumstances fit an MC, and he even sits where all MCs are contractually obligated to sit. And that was last year. Back to present day, where Ichiro is doing what he does best, being the side character. And the side character he's decided to play for Ryuga is the easily excitable idiot character. While chasing Ryuga around, Ichiro whips out a book of best babes list. Ryuga wishes that Ichiro would put his energy somewhere else, and so does Ichiro. But Ichiro must stick to the friend character settings he made. When then Ryuga hits the ground in pain, Ichiro noticed that it seems Ryuga's powers are going berserk. This always excites him, as it just reminds him that yes indeed, Ryuga is a bona fide main character, but Ichiro must remember to stay on script of the happy-go-lucky idiot who does not notice a thing. But Ichiro's wondering, where the hell are the heroines? When the MC is in this much distress, this is their time to shine. But even with Ryuga in so much pain, no heroine ends up showing up, which throws Ichiro off. But even with none of them showing up, Ryuga seems to rebound from his ordeal and thanks Ichiro for worrying about him and informs Ichiro that there's no need to be concerned and it's not that big of a deal. When Ichiro in his head thinks along the lines of, fuck you mean it's not a big deal. Now back in class, Rei comes to get Ryuga, and just like all the greats before him, Ichiro has the ball in his hands in the clutch, and he does not miss. And he hits shot after shot after shot for game. Now with all that out the way, Ichiro was originally planning just to go home, but instead decides to take a little peek at what those two are doing, because typically Ichiro would avoid anything related to the main story, but he thinks it might be better to get a better grasp of Ryuga's abilities, even though he guesses it's probably like a guardian god or something. And like I've told you, Ichiro does not fucking miss and gets it right on the money. Rei and Ryuga start talking about how the guardian deity, the dragon god, has started going out of control for Ryuga, but the thing that concerns Ichiro is the name Dragon God. Like, would it kill them to be even a smidge bit more creative? And while thinking of names that would sound cooler than just Dragon God, Ryuga walks out and catches Ichiro. But the thing is, Ichiro stays ready, which means he don't gotta get ready, as he's already in character. Before you could blink, he grabs Ryuga and covers his mouth and tells Ryuga that they're on a mission of critical importance. Ryuga asks, what is he talking about? And without skipping a beat, Ichiro says they're gonna go peek on Rei while she's changing. Ladies and gentlemen, give him the ass off award now. Ryuga tries to dissuade Ichiro, but the man Ichiro, even after remembering seeing Rei cut a bus in half, is still the greatest actor of our time, and he gets into position and plays his role perfectly, and with such perfection and beauty, it can make a grown man cry. Now being scolded by Rei, who's thinking of thousands of ways to skin Ichiro alive, and even under these circumstances where even the strongest of men would falter, Ichiro does not, and stays in character. As when groveling, Ichiro lets Rei know that when making people grovel like this, that they would see her panties. It's now the weekend, but for our boy Ichiro, there are no such thing as off days. While walking around town, he runs into Shiori, who's waiting for Ryuga, where unbeknownst to Shiori, Ichiro is grading her on how she stacks up to the other heroines. But even goats slip up, as Ichiro realizes that he might have accidentally gotten along too well with Shiori without the MC being around, as he may have been too direct with helping Shiori, and tells her that she must forget everything they've talked about as he leaves before the MC's entrance. As Ichiro is a goddamn professional, as Ryuga then shows up, which is our boy Ichiro's cue, as he then fulfills his role as the best friend character, which of course goes well because Ichiro's fucking LeBron with the shits. It's now the next day and Ryuga and Ichiro are chatting with each other when then the heroine Elmira gets invited to karaoke, but she does not want to go unless Ryuga's going. And so Ryuga gets invited, and as collateral damage, Ichiro ends up going with him as well. While at karaoke, Ryuga supposedly heads off to the bathroom when Ichiro then stares at Elmira, wondering why she's not chasing after Ryuga. When Ichiro then thinks, did Ryuga actually go to the restroom? Because if that's the case, it should be him to follow Ryuga. And while ping-ponging this thought in his head, trying to figure out which one it is, Elmira then asks, is there something weird about her? And Ichiro says, nope. Elmira then says how she wouldn't come to this shabby place even though Ryuga offered that she could drink his blood. This makes Ichiro for a split second break character as he does a spit take. Elmira then double downs on how she wishes there was some more commotion so she could sneakily drink Ryuga's blood. Ichiro then decides that he also needs to use the restroom. While walking back from the bathroom thinking how could Elmira just spoil her true identity like that, he then remarks, holy shit, I didn't expect her to be a fucking vampire. Ichiro then spots Ryuga and heads over to him as Ryuga had to leave because he's not used to hanging around that many people and staying in character. Ichiro then asks Ryuga, is he hiding something from him? And like all good cliches, right before Ryuga's about to answer Ichiro's question, some shit pops off as Ichiro realizes that he's in the middle of the Hands of Evil crawl into the MC's Everyday Peaceful Life episode, but like they say, pressure make diamonds, and Ichiro's always under his own pressure to perform. Even though his part should only extend to the everyday life part, not the combat part, Ichiro's been expecting this to happen eventually, as he knows these reps can only help improve his character. Ryuga then informs Ichiro that everyone's been put under a hypnosis wave. Elmira then makes her way to Ryuga. She then asks, has Ryuga noticed who was behind this? Ryuga says, yes, it's the manager. Ryuga and Elmira then go after the manager, and Ichiro decides to help the collapsed people and just wait for them to finish up, which they do with a tinge of vampire action too. It's now the next day, and Ichiro has decided to change up the friend character a bit and to keep tabs on Ryuga's battle parts to some extent, because the more about the story he knows, the more efficiently he can act. And one day, as he's about to sneak away after one of Ryuga's battles, he gets caught by Ryuga, and after being interrogated by the heroines, Ryuga then just reveals their secret, which of course made Ichiro have to pivot characters to the friend who knows their secret and roots for them. Now, Ichiro and Ryuga are conversing about Ryuga and the heroines' battles when Ryuga mentions that he was nervous to reveal their secret as it thought it would put a rift between them. Ichiro says that'll never happen. They'll always be buddies no matter what. That's when Ryuga brings up that what if there was still something that he has not told Ichiro? But Ryuga does not know he's dealing with the creme de la creme of actors, and Ichiro answers flawlessly. Ichiro then finishes it off with giving Ryuga a pound on the chest, which flusters Ryuga as he drops to his knees as his dragon god starts acting up again, but it manages to eventually pass. A few days after that, Ryuga starts acting different to Ichiro, being more distant than usual, and this concerned Ichiro, wondering if maybe Ryuga's found another friend character, because if that's the case, it would be a threat to his very existence. As Ichiro then clings onto Ryuga, crying, asking him, has he got another friend or something? Ryuga then reassures Ichiro that he does not have a better friend than him, which Ichiro is so thankful for. But the secret that Ryuga mentioned earlier is now reappearing in Ichiro's mind. But that's not his problem, as that secret does not concern a minor character like him. Ichiro noticed Ryuga's already disappeared before second period, but none of the heroines are with him, so Ichiro just concludes that it must be a Ryuga special episode then. He thinks, what if another heroine shows up and what she would be like? But nonetheless, Ichiro also thinks it sucks being ignored by Ryuga, so he needs a calm place to go to start planning for if there is a new heroine. He then proceeds to go to the nurse's office since the nurse is not around right now. He then notices that there's another fellow slacker in the nurse's office. As Ichiro's trying to sneak by to not wake them, through the slimmest of cracks, he sees it, a booba. And this single sight makes Ichiro do the most out-of-pocket shit, as he then grabs a chair and sits right on the opening so he can just look at said booba. He then thanks the Lord, for he will never forget this wonderful sight that he's bestowed upon him. He then starts deducing what size cup she has. Is it E? No, it has to be F. But you see, Ichiro's not all that interested in girls,
but he does have a great interest in the female form, as he is a healthy teenage boy after all. And the female form he's witnessing is having his heart skip a beat along with the tightening of his pants. And as the girl seems to be waking up, it's time to call this lovely show a wrap. And as he's wrapping it up, Ichiro catches the face of the well-endowed girl, and it breaks his brain, as those two fucking Giga Mountains belong to none other than Ryuga. And that was...